Okay, welcome to the Monday night Zoom meeting of Overeaters Anonymous. This is a closed meeting. My name is Rebecca A, and I am a compulsive overeater. If this is your first time at the meeting or you are visiting, please introduce yourself by your first name so we can get to know you better. And just to be aware that this meeting is being recorded because we have a speaker with us today. So if you don't want your voice recorded, but you want to say hello, please just pop it into the chat and we will welcome you. So any newcomers today?
Yes, I am Cheryl, compulsive overeater. I'm not a newcomer to OA, just to this meeting. I've been in OA Liverpool for a few years, just recently out of relapse. So hello, everyone.
Welcome home, Cheryl. Great to have you with us this evening.
Hello, my name is Matilda. I'm a compulsive overeater.
Hi, Matilda. Welcome.
Hi. This is my first meeting with you. I'm from Sweden and I've been in OA for about a month now, but I thought I'd try this Zoom meeting tonight. So hello, thank you.
Oh, welcome, Matilda. Welcome to OA. Welcome home. Great to have you with us. You're not alone. We have a few Swedish people on this meeting regularly. You're very welcome. Anyone else want to jump in and say hello?
Can I just, Cheryl, can I just add, I haven't purposefully got my camera on. I just can't. The damn thing's gone off and won't come back on again. All right.
That's perfectly fine. No worries. You're welcome. Okay, yeah, welcome everyone, new and old, to the meeting. Welcome. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts by private message in the chat function. We ask if you can please make sure to keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's meeting, and also turn off your video if you're exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from the screen for any reason. We are going to read the OA preamble and the following readings, which are taken from the big book. So I'm just going to bring up the OA preamble. Bear with me. Okay. Overeaters Anonymous is a fellowship of individuals who, through shared experience, strength, and hope, are recovering from compulsive overeating. We welcome everyone who wants to stop eating compulsively. There are no dues or fees for members. We are self-supporting for our own contributions, neither soliciting nor accepting outside donations. OA is not affiliated with any public or private organization, political movement, ideology, or religious doctrine. We take no position on outside issues. Our primary purpose is to abstain from compulsive eating and compulsive food behaviors, and to carry the message of recovery through the 12 steps of OA to those who still suffer. So may we please have Mark D to read how it works for us.
Right. Hi, my name is Mark and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater. So how it works: rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed their path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with food, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for your service. Okay, may we go to Carolyn to read the 12 steps. And just a reminder that our meeting is being recorded this evening because we've got a speaker. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carolyn. I'm a compulsive overeater. So, step 1, we admitted we were powerless over food, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to compulsive overeaters and to practice these principles in all our lives.
Well, thanks for your service, Carolyn. Okay, next, may we please have Michelle to read more about compulsive eating for us. Thank you.
Good evening, Michelle, compulsive overeater. More about compulsive overeating. Most of us have been unwilling to admit that we were real compulsive overeaters. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our eating careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could eat like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his eating is the great obsession of every abnormal overeater. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were compulsive overeaters. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed. We compulsive overeaters are men and women who have lost the ability to control our eating. We know that no real compulsive overeater ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that compulsive overeaters of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. We are like men who have lost their legs, they never grow new ones. Neither does there appear to be any kind of treatment which would make compulsive overeaters of our kind like other men. We have tried every imaginable remedy. In some instances, there has been brief recovery, followed by a still worse relapse. Physicians who are familiar with compulsive overeating agree there is no such thing as making a normal eater out of a compulsive overeater. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service. Okay, next up, may we please have Maria to read the tradition of the month. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks for your service. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria F., and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater. And tradition 10, compulsive overeaters, OA has no opinion on outside issues, hence the OA name ought never be drawn into public controversy.
Beautiful, thank you so much. And last but not least, may we have Margaret D to read a vision for you for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. I'm Margaret. I'm a compulsive overeater. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realise we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Beautiful, thank you, Margaret. Okay, so we've come to the topic of this week's meeting, and today is the second Monday of the month, so we have a speaker share. I'm so delighted to introduce my friend Martina to share for us her experience, strength and hope, and it will be followed by shares. So yeah, Martina, take it away.
Hi everyone. Before I begin, can I please have a 5-minute warming before my time is up? Right. So, hello everyone. My name is Martina and I'm a compulsive overeater and an exercise bulimic. Thank you so much for being here and for making this meeting happen and for the opportunity to do service. All right, so my story. I believe that I was born a compulsive overeater, but I realized that something was wrong with me only when I moved to London from Italy almost 5 years ago. And my mom always tells me how when I was a toddler, she had to feed me with 2 different spoons because the second that she removed the first one from my mouth, I would start crying so loud that she had to have a second one ready to go in order to keep me calm. Otherwise, I wouldn't stop crying. And to a normal person, this might seem a funny and cute anecdote, but actually to me, it's one of the first signs that I was born with this disease. I didn't grow up in a terribly dysfunctional family. Well, they are actually not perfect, but they do love me and they have always supported me and made me feel protected. However, deep down inside me, there's always been this strong need to save them, to fix them, and especially to fix the relationship between them, and especially to protect my mom, which has an untreated eating disorder. And this later I realized is my biggest defect of character, because I think that somehow I have the power to be everyone's savior, and this need to save people around me and the level of stress that comes with that has always been one of the main things that I used to eat on. But let's fast forward to 5 years ago when I first moved to the UK, straight out of university to start my first job. And the fear related to entering the adult world all alone in a foreign country created the perfect ground for my disease to thrive. And it made it so strong that it became impossible to ignore. At that point, I was binging in my sleep almost every night. And I was waking up with no recollection whatsoever of what had happened the night before, but I was surrounded by crumbs and food wrappers, so I actually knew what was going on. And at the same time, during the day, I was so obsessed with being fit and being thin that I was literally a slave to my fitness tracker. And I am not joking here, I'm not exaggerating. I would constantly check the calorie and the step count, and I wouldn't eat anything before I was able to log it into the fitness tracker app on my phone. And if for any reason, like my phone was dead or there was no internet connection, if for any reason I was not able to log the food, I would start panicking. But of course, I was not logging any of my binges because those were too shameful to confess even to a piece of plastic and metal. So at that point, I was still very much unaware that I have an actual disease. And I thought that I could use my willpower to control my eating. So I was not keeping any junk food in my cupboard, but my disease made me eat my flatmate's stuff. I used to try and put physical obstacles between my bed and the kitchen in order to, prevent the nighttime eating. But of course, every night I would find a way to go around them. I used to stick threatening notes on my cupboard, but those would not stop me either. I tried all sorts of diets, and my favorite thing to do was to binge on stuff like lettuce, raw carrots, tomatoes, any kind of low calorie food, because in my disease head, that would give me the permission to eat until my stomach would hurt without feeling too guilty about it, because I was actually not ingesting too many calories. I also used cocaine to curb my appetite, but of course that doesn't work when what's diseased is not only your body, but also your mind and your spirit. I also tried a psychedelic substance called Cambo because I believed that it would reveal some hidden truth about myself and made me stop eating. But obviously that didn't happen. And then there was a compulsive exercise, which was quite hard to pinpoint for me because I used to be a professional volleyball player from the age of 16 until I turned 24. So to me, there was not such a thing as bad exercise. Any kind of exercise in my mind was good. But now I can realize that actually walking for 20 kilometers per day with the sole purpose of burning calories is certainly not an healthy way or a sane way to exercise, especially when that means taking time away from your family, from your friends, from work, or even from your sleep. So yeah, my first attempt at getting recovered started with a Google research in May 2019, when I found a 12-step program for eating disorders, which was not OA, it was a different one, but it was for eating disorders. And I started going to their meetings. But I did not get a sponsor. I did not start working the steps. And of course, I only lasted a couple of months. After a couple of months, I decided that I was not that bad. And off I went, proceeded to kill myself with binging and exercise bulimia. The real turning point for me came almost a year later, in March 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, when, like most people, I was suddenly forced to stay at home. And in isolation, I finally realized that I needed to do something concrete. So I decided to went back to that first 12-step program. And yes, it is true, maybe I was not as bad as the other addicts in the room, but that second time I understood that it was only a matter of time. And I could see myself becoming that bad because I was already doing much worse than the previous year. And I can say that the old timers in those rooms kind of raised the rock bottom for me. So that time I did get a sponsor and I started working the steps, but I was still not ready. Even if I had accepted that I have a disease and my life without program is unmanageable, I still thought that I could do it my way. In fact, I was lying to my sponsor about all sorts of things. I used to have a call with her every morning during which I had to tell her my food plan for the day. And I was actually doing it. I did have a food plan, which I was reading out to her, but I also had another food plan on the side, which was way more restrictive, which was the one that I was actually following. And on top of that, I was adding the nighttime binges. I was also lying about making outreach calls. I was telling my sponsor that I was doing my 2/3 outreach calls per day, but actually I was keeping myself quite isolated. And we all know how much our disease loves isolation for us. And ultimately, I was not going to the meetings that she suggested, and I was lying about that too. So no wonder I could not stay abstinent. I still hadn't surrendered to a power greater than myself because I was not ready to hear the message yet. I probably needed to suffer a little bit more. But still, I kept on working the program, quotation marks, in that dishonest way until step 5. And then at the beginning of September 2020, I decided to leave again. But that time I didn't leave because I thought that I didn't need a higher power or didn't need the 12 steps. I left because my disease has simply convinced me that the reason that I could not stay abstinent was because that specific program and that specific sponsor were too strict for me. And it made me decide, my disease made me decide that my solution was in OA, which I believed at the time to be a little bit more relaxed than the other program. But spoiler alert, of course, that was not the reason why I could not recover. And OA is not necessarily more relaxed than that other program. But anyways, I started going to my first OA meetings right after leaving that first program. And I eventually met the amazing woman that is my sponsor today. And the reason why she initially got my attention was that she has the same name as my mom. And if that's not higher power, I don't know what is, to be honest. But yeah, I started working with her. And I got a food and an exercise plan, which to me are equally important to determine what's abstinent and what's not abstinent because of my exercise bulimia. And also in my specific case, I think it's important that I got them from 2 different professionals because my diseased mind cannot cure my diseased mind. So I need to trust 2 specific people, 2 professionals to decide what's good for me. And to be honest, not having to think about calories, exercise or anything is so liberating to me. You have no idea how much mental space and time trusting 2 professionals has freed up for me. So that's amazing for me. I also got rid of my fitness tracker and I made a commitment to always be honest with my sponsor. And I was able to stick to my food and exercise plan quite soon during the day, but I could not stop eating in my sleep. And my sponsor doesn't have the same experience with nighttime eating, but thank God she was humble enough to reach out to her own network and ask for help. She looked for other sleep eaters and she found some. So she put me in touch with them. And thanks to those people, I actually found out that sleep binging is a form of eating disorder that is recognized by the NHS here in the UK. And that made me feel a little bit less scared and a little bit less alone and desperate. So those fellows, night eaters, and my nutritionist made some practical suggestions to help me deal with my nighttime eating, like adding a planned nighttime snack, which I prefer before going to bed. I also have dinner quite late in order to not have a lot of time between the last meal of the day and the first one of the following day. And I also need to have a clean nighttime routine, which means no screens or liquids in the hour before going to bed, because I need to try not to wake up too frequently. And these things actually helped a little bit and still help because I still do them, but that's not how I got abstinent. The real miracle happened when, for the first time, I stopped treating my higher power. Excuse me?
5 minutes left.
Okay. I stopped treating my higher power as my errand boy. So on the night of the 25th of October 2020, I got on my knees before going to bed. And for the very first time, instead of asking my higher power to help me go through the night without binging, I actually surrendered to his will. I told him something like, God, if you think that I need to binge another night and suffer a little bit more, I am okay with that. I accept whatever you think is best for me. And trust me when I say that that night marked the beginning of my abstinence. God had finally done for me what I couldn't have possibly done for myself. So what does my life look like today? I can definitely say that I'm starting to comprehend the word serenity and no peace, as the Step 9 promises said, which doesn't mean that I'm happy, joyous, and free all the time, but it means that I am finally in touch with my emotions because they're not buried underneath tons of food anymore. And today I understand that life is not always easy. And sometimes it's normal to feel sad, to feel angry, afraid, resentful, whatever. But I am serene because I know that my higher power doesn't put anything on my path that I cannot handle. And I trust that whatever comes my way is actually part of its design for me. All I have to do is work the program and I will be fine. Another big change for me that has only been possible thanks to my higher power and thanks to program has to do with the way that I see myself. Because when I was in my active addiction, I unconsciously believed that I was worth nothing. I say unconsciously because I actually had a very high opinion of myself, but I can see now that deep down, I believed that I was pretty useless and unimpressive, because otherwise, why would I spend so much time building a persona that was not actually the real me? Depending who I was with, I would change my taste in music, my political views, the way that I dressed, my interests, sometimes even the way that I spoke. And all of that was because deep down I felt that that no one could like the real me. And I was so terrified of being alone that I would do whatever it took to be likable, to the point that I actually convinced myself that I was that pretty mask that I was putting on. I was constantly vacillating from vanity to self-loathing, and the expression that we always hear, addicts believe that they are the most important piece of crap in the room, was very true to me. I was very much an egomaniac with the inferiority complex, and I was constantly thinking about myself, either believing that I was the best at everything or fantasizing about being better and being adored because of that. And as the AA 12 and 12 suggests, I still had no idea how to be one in a family, a friend among friends, a worker among worker, or a useful member of society, because I was instead constantly struggling to the top of the heap or trying to hide underneath it. But I don't need to do that anymore, because being in program has taught me how to be naked in front of people. When I am speaking to a fellow, I don't feel the need to pretend to be someone that I'm not. And by doing that, I'm starting to get to know the real me, and I'm starting not to feel that useless anymore. Developing a relationship with my higher power has made me realize that if a higher power can love me, then human beings can love me too. All I have to do is forget the people pleasing, forget the self-seeking, and show the real me. Of course, I am aware that not everyone I meet will like me, but that's fine. That's okay, because I trust that my higher power will put the right people on my path, and all I have to do is always try and be honest. And I can say that the friendships that I formed in program are the most sincere relationships that I have in my life today. And the greatest thing of them all is that most of my OA friends have lives that are so different from mine that our path would have never crossed if it was not for OA. So I think that the last thing that I want to say before closing has to do with the daily reprieve that we have. Once I heard fellows say that every morning we wake up and our disease wakes up 30 minutes before us. And I hope that I will never forget that, because as a compulsive overeater, I know that I have to work program every single day and strengthen my relationship with my higher power every single day if I want to keep this amazing gift of recovery. Because even if I'm not hurting with myself with food anymore, I will never be cured of this disease. And there will surely be days where I feel useless. But the good news is that the big book has taught me, and still teaches me and forever will teach me, how to deal with that feeling of uselessness and how to make it slip away. And I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for letting me share.
Oh, thank you so much for your beautiful share, Martina. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we will now open the meeting for sharing, and sharing time will end at 25 past the hour. If you would like to share, please raise your hand in the participant section and we will call on you accordingly. Please limit your share to 3 minutes, and in that way others get an opportunity to share their experience, strength and hope too. Okay, just going to remove that, and yeah, Mark, jump in.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I'm a compulsive overeater. And thank you so much for your share. And I could relate with just so much of everything that you were saying. And like that thing of being born with it, through doing the steps, I realized I was born with this, and like, from my earliest memory. And I was laughing when you said that thing about the 2 spoons. That was me. That was me as a child. And and always wanting to fix other people. And that when you moved to London, that there was that perfect breeding ground for your disease to thrive and flourish. And my journey was completely different, but yeah, I had that perfect breeding ground for my disease to thrive and flourish. And like that obsession of fitness, that I was very overweight, and then I discovered not eating and loads of exercise and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, I was going to use willpower and my intelligence, because I was able to use that in work and in other situations and whatever, and that got me nowhere. And again, no, I wasn't going to get a sponsor, and I wasn't that bad, and comparing myself with everybody in the room rather than listening. And you spoke of the progression, that like you left the fellowship that you were in, and then you came back, and then you realized that you're actually worse than you were, and not accepting it. God, I was in a treatment center, and I was rumbled for having an eating disorder, and still couldn't bloody accept it. And again, not having a higher power. Yeah, that again, that was me. I thought I was that higher power, but you know, I heard other members talking about honesty. When I did get a sponsor, my sponsor just said, all you have to do is be honest, and always, kind of brutally honest with yourself and to your higher power. And my higher power is God. And I remember the day where I kind of just surrendered to God, and it is probably just the most memorable day of my entire life. And it just made this program, it's not to say that the program's easy, but it made the program a whole lot easier. And and yeah, I so identified with that thing of being that chameleon, where you could adjust to any situation and like somebody else's point of view or somebody else's music or whatever the case may be. But this program has given me everything that I hold dear. So many friends of mine are in the fellowships that I'm in, and they just understand me, I understand them. And sometimes you don't even have to say anything, and all of a sudden there's that connection. But so thank you so much, and I could identify with everything that you're saying, and I wish you all the best, and thanks for taking time out of your day to spend some time and share your experience, strength and hope with us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for your share, Mark. Great to have you with us. Okay, so next up we've got Michelle H.
Hi, Martina. Michelle is my name. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I'm in OA about 12 weeks, and I'm on step 12, and so happy about that. I identified so much in that, and 12 weeks ago, I was that person in a room full of people that I felt scanning the room. I'm the biggest person in this room. I'm bigger than most men. And yet, why do I feel so small? Why do I feel so worthless? And then I try and get myself out of that pity party by saying, yeah, but of everybody in this room, I'm probably the one that will do the most for you. I'll go to any length to please you. And whatever I'll do, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to get it right. And then you'll be extra happy with me. But I've learned now in program that they're actually two of my biggest character defects that kept me bound up in fear and in the disease. And this week I went back to the office for the first time in 18 months. And I didn't realize how far along I've come until I opened up the pedestal at my desk. And it was locked, it was under lock and key for the last 18 months. And I opened up those drawers, there's 3 drawers. Every single drawer was either full of sweet wrappers, biscuits, you name it. It literally, I threw out bags of stuff this week from my office pedestal. And it just shocked me as to this. I was worse than I thought I was. I really was. And I'm also, I kind of smiled when you spoke about were looking at the hidden truths, and you tried some drug or whatever. But I tried, hypnotherapy for that reason. I was so sure. I knew there was something wrong with me, but I thought it'll be explained by hypnotherapy, and it was never explained by hypnotherapy. It was the disease. And I even tried. I even was prescribed a drug by my doctor, but it impacted my word association, but it raised my metabolism, and I was prepared to take that medication, even though I couldn't talk, I couldn't express myself. And that was something, which luckily my doctor took me off. And it's just so amazing where I am now, the difference in where I was to where I am. I'm so grateful to everybody here. And to any newcomers, I just, you won't regret it. It, as they say in the book, it works. It really does. So thank you, everybody. And with that, I pass.
Oh, thanks so much, Michelle, and great to have you with us. Okay, I'm going to jump in for a quick share, and then we're going to go to Maria. Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca, compulsive overeater. Really grateful to be here, and thank you so much, everyone doing service, and thank you, Martina, for your share. And I love your story of kind of like surrender, where you just get to that point where you're like, what, higher power, whatever's meant to happen to me, let it be, because I can't control this show. And then that's the point that the tide kind of turns. So beautiful. I love it. And yeah, it's so true. And also, like you said, it's so nice to kind of this kind of world fellowship and getting to kind of hear recovery through people's different languages and walks and experiences. You said learning to be naked in front of others. Yeah, that's what it's about. Learning to be vulnerable for the first time and learning to adult for the first time. And I definitely had that same fear of entering into the world. And that was a prompt for me to kind of, protect. And food was a protection until it was a harm, But yeah, I relate so much to that. And in your story, you so beautifully demonstrated like the power of good sponsorship. It sounds so wonderful. Just that WE program of kind of reaching out to people who had the similar thing that you had, and then using that kind of action plan as well. It's just really beautiful. And I've had to kind of start a new relationship with exercise that is more about kind of just being gentle and about the experience of exercise, not about some kind of goals or outcomes. It's a different world, but yeah, and I also related to this idea of being a chameleon, being this kind of constant perpetual people pleaser, because I'm so afraid of being my actual self and then not being accepted. But yeah, and you put it so beautifully, trying to be at the top of the heap or hide underneath it, that crazy little dichotomy. But yeah, I got so much kind of experience, strength and hope from your story. Thank you for what you shared and your honesty. And with that, I pass. Okay. So next up, may we please have Maria jump in.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. Gosh, thanks so much, Martina. So good to hear you. And so much of what you said I can identify with, so much of it. And you just reminded me when you were sharing a lot about the doctor's opinion just came back into my mind, a lot of threads that were, you spoke about, and he says that, I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. And you talked about that, didn't you? Trying to control it mentally. I'll control this, I'll be able to fix this, and I could really identify with the part where you spoke about the volume. I was a volume eater, and you talked about, getting the effect from lettuce. I remember I'd get the effect from a bag of carrots with mayonnaise. That's where I'd be dipping it in and dipping it in. And what I was chasing was my allergy, because it was the sugar and the mayonnaise that I was looking for the effect. And what's that effect he talks about? Is ease and comfort. It comes at once by taking a few bites, he tells us, and that was it. I was looking for an effect from food because it worked to numb me. I could numb out in food. And like you said, I too was born with the disease. And I came in to the rooms with an inferiority complex about OA. I thought that I was better, that, I don't inferiority, I don't have it as bad. These people have it much worse. I didn't think I had it that bad, and I was every bit as bad. And I spent my life trying to be a normal eater, trying to push against all the odds, doing everything to try. I go to the, with the mums in the school and try and eat like they eat, and I'd come home and I'd eat in a completely different way, because I'm not a normal eater. I will never be a normal eater, and that's okay today. I'm a compulsive overeater. And today, thank you, God, I have a solution, and the solution is simple. It's the 12 steps of recovery. And you talked about relationship with a higher power. And that's where, the rubber meets the road, isn't it? It's not about, abstinence is not going to cut it for me. Abstinence is 5% of the solution. It's a relationship with God. It's a relationship with God through these 12 steps. And I was just at a meeting yesterday, and they were talking about it, and it reminds me, I have to have neutrality in all my affairs, not just with food. I have to have neutrality around Netflix, because I don't do things normally. I'm all or nothing, so yeah, I have to have those boundaries and that neutrality around things, because shopping was another addiction that I had, so I have to have neutrality around that. And something I just end on this, where I was really struck by the part where you said, when you prayed to God, and it was your last night of binging, and you just reminded me that, it's not up to me when I get recovered. That wasn't up to me. That was nothing to do with me. That was to do with God. You're ready when you're ready. You're ready when you're ready. And I had to do a lot of eating. I came into OA when I was 19. And I went back out and ate for 27 years before I came back into the rooms again, so, and I'd come in a couple of times in between that time, and the food just brought me back every time, until I was absolutely desperate, and had to be as desperate as the drowning man. That's the way it got for me, where I was out of all other options. I was hopeless. But today, anyone that's new here, stick around. There absolutely is a solution. It works if you work it. But just keep coming back. And you know what, and that was said to me at the beginning, keep coming back. But there's more to it than that. It's, find a sponsor, look for somebody who has what you want, and ask them how they got it. So thanks a million. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Maria. Thank you for sharing your service. Okay, next up we have Sanachu. Take it away.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Sunaku. I'm still kind of new. I'm really glad I came on tonight. Like really, really glad. And I nearly wasn't going to, because I was bombing it back from work, thinking, oh, I'm going to be late. There's no point. I don't need to go on it. And that share was just, it was really, really good. And I could resonate with a lot of it. And like people often say, when you're new, sometimes you're looking for the reasons why you're not the same as everybody here. It's like, oh, I don't need to be here. I'm not that bad, or I'm not like that. But instead, being able to hear and see the things that, I'm exactly like that, and I do relate. And the talk of kind of willpower and higher power, and I'm still at that point where I'm not letting go yet. I'm not surrendering. Like I've kind of flittered in and out for the last couple of months to a few meetings here and there, and it's only in the last 2 weeks really that I've kind of made the decision, like, okay, I'm not going to eat my trigger foods and see how that gets on. And I started kind of trying to step closer to the program. But I've had so much hesitancy for years, kind of growing up around other people who are in the programs, and I'm always like, oh, well, I'm not like them. And I'm still convinced that maybe I can be a normal eater, but I think I'm only fooling myself anytime I try and tell myself that. So yeah, I'm kind of half in, half out, in the sense that I haven't asked for a sponsor yet, and I'm still convinced, oh, I don't, last night I was hanging on by a thread, and I was like, I don't need an outreach call, I'll be grand, I'll power through, I'll watch Netflix or something. It's, and yeah, but hearing the share and hearing what it takes really to really step into recovery, and just hearing that if one person can do it, then why can't I? So yeah, because I've tried everything else. I've tried so many things, and it's still there, and it's still an issue. And I sometimes am convinced, it's like, oh, but I'm good at so many other things. This is just the one thing that I'm bad at. But yeah, I think part of me now is to just make that leap of like, okay, just do it and just see where it goes. And I'm just so glad I heard that share tonight. It's really helped. So thank you so much. And I'll pass.
Oh, thanks a million, and sorry for butchering your name so
That's
much.
okay.
Beautiful. Thank you for your share. Yeah, we've got lots of hands up, which is fantastic. We'll just try and take them all. Next up, we have Claire. Go for it.
Hi everybody, my name's Claire. I'm a recovered compulsive eater in Cornwall in the UK. Can't butcher the name Claire, it's very simple. Thank you, Martina, for it was just wonderful, and yeah, it's been a real privilege to know you since you started your recovery, and just see how you've changed. And I know how hard you work at your recovery, and it really shows. And it shows. It just shows in the way you come out. There's just that sort of that. It's a non-verbal thing, isn't it, in a way? It's just a real lovely serenity and calm and peace to somebody's recovery. And I love that in your recovery. And it's your relationship with your higher power is something that's really special. It's really nice. And I really identify, made me laugh about bottles. So my mum, when she wasn't giving me gin on a teaspoon to shut me up, and that's a whole different story in another fellowship that I'm in, she was putting rice in my bottle of milk because it made me go to sleep. And, that's how I used food from pretty much that moment onwards. I used food as an anesthetic. I always ate, it says, doesn't it, in the book, that, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect of food. I like the taste. I didn't like the taste when I'd eaten 3 bags of it from, out the supermarket thing. The taste was irrelevant at that point. It was just down the hatch. And that's great delusion. I always used to think I'd like the taste, but as soon as I started binging, I didn't actually enjoy the taste very much at all. But I like the effect. I like the zooming out. I like the numbness. I like the, the lights come down, the curtains are closed, and that was me and the food, and that was it. And it gave me that sort of sense of just immunity from the world. And that's what I sought in food, and as a result, when I finally got abstinent, I'm like Maria, I was around OA for many years before as it says, food is the great persuader. Every relapse I had was, here I am again. There was nothing else that worked for me. The only recovery I'd ever found was in OA, so here I came back again 4 years ago now. And when I got abstinent, it was painful. It wasn't a nice experience. I didn't really want to be abstinent because I felt, I think some sort of speakers say, I felt everything better. I felt the anger better, I felt fear better, I felt the anxiety better, I felt all of that stuff better. And so, what I need, to be well is through the 12 steps to get in touch and have a conscious contact with my higher power. And, on the days I can really have a good connection with my higher power, all sorts of stuff can happen in life. And I'm able to maintain that serenity as well as my abstinence. And, it's this sort of emotional sobriety side of things these days that I think is far more of a miracle the days I have it than, well, God, that sounds like I'm taking it for granted, doesn't it? But my physical abstinence, I think, it's there. It's like a ticket in the door, but that's not the end game here. It used to be the end game. When I came into OA, physical abstinence was my end game. And now my end game is more conscious contact with my higher power, you know, more spirituality, more emotional sobriety. That's what I want. And abstinence, clean abstinence is my ticket in the door. And I was 4 years abstinent yesterday, and it was a really hard day. It was a really shitty day. I had a really bad day with my husband, and I really did feel very despondent and like, oh my God, is this what recovery is all about? You know, is a sort of, and thank God, you know, it always passes, you know, that sort of I'm the worst person in the world thing, you know, and that and I so relate to that. I'm the most important piece of poo in the room. I really am, you know, you know, the sort of real desponsive, I've got nothing to offer, I've got nothing. And then today I'm just like, you know what, maybe it was just meant to be like that because the next lesson has to be learned. And, you know, thank God, you know, through any difficulty, touch wood, that I have these days, food doesn't come into it. I don't want to eat. I know food's not going to make it better. I know it's just, that's not a solution for my problems today. The solution is to work my program and keep on trudging, really keep on trudging. And I know it will pass, and I know things will improve and be better, and I'll learn the lessons I'm supposed to. So yeah, it's really lovely to be at a meeting tonight. And I don't know, I said I'm feeling a little bit fragile at the moment, and just particularly to see a few faces, very familiar faces on this meeting tonight, and I feel plugged in, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to have this in my life, this whole dimension of living that I wouldn't have if I was out there in the food. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Claire. We're really grateful to have you as well. Congratulations on your milestone. Congratulations. And I forgot to say as well, Martina, special thank you for taking the share, because I know you just moved house yesterday and you still stepped up to service. So that is serenity. Thank you so much for your share. Okay, Margaret D, take it away.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for your service. I'm Margaret D, and I'm a compulsive overeater. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm very grateful to be listening to you all and to hear your stories. Martina, your share was wonderful, and I so much I could identify with. I know for myself that I too was born into compulsive overeating, and it was my solution to living in a very traumatic and chaotic place. But all the behaviors, I mean, you know, it's kind of like everybody is saying, it's not really the food, it's all our behaviors around the food that I'm confronted with still. I've managed to stay away and to put down all of my red foods and my alcoholic foods, but my issues are also with things like volume, and also with, I was very interested, Martina, about what you were talking about in terms of night binging. I hadn't heard about that, but I know that about 3 months in, I came into OA in February. About 3 months in, I found myself waking up in the middle of the night and just coming downstairs and just picking up something half asleep, just to eat, and not being even aware until the next day that I'd actually eaten. So I'd be very interested to follow that up, because sleep has been an issue for me. So I'd like to get a handle on that, you know. But thankfully, I'm still, you know, thankfully it's much better. You know, thankfully I'm not picking up the food, and I'm very grateful for that. And my life feels very different, and the experiences I have feel very different. But it's also, I realize that sometimes life feels like I'm in the middle of a washing machine. You know, just it's kind of tough also, that I feel much more now that I put the food down, and life feels very tough at times, but it does pass, and that's the miracle. Those feelings of hopelessness, those feelings of not being good enough. And I mean, I had met my sister, who I had great difficulty meeting, but I met her last week, and I came away from the meeting feeling just like I was ugly, stupid, ineffectual, all those awful feelings, until I realized that what was being triggered was some of the very old painful stuff that I was very familiar with. And I found a way to, it passed, it kind of like went through me, came up, it came through me, and I survived it, you know, and came out the other end with a more compassionate view of the whole meeting. So this is a miraculous program as far as I'm concerned. I've been able to stay off my my foods, my behaviors are getting a whole lot better. And And I just feel very grateful to you all. Your sharing every week and your vulnerability means so much to me and holds me. I feel like I'm at home when I'm here, that you understand and know what's happening. And I feel this is where I can be myself and be honest. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your share, Margaret D, and thanks for being with us. Okay, so we have, I believe, 2 more hands up. If everybody is still okay to stay and we hear them, that would be wonderful. So next we have Susan O, followed by Cheryl. Susan.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Susan here, recovering compulsive overeater. I am just so grateful that I've been abstinent since the 1st of August. And clarity is coming, but also a lot of, a certain amount of grief and pain as well, which is coming and going. And that's all part of the detoxing of my life, on a spiritual and psychological and emotional level. I want to say that I'm here in the countryside in West Cork, and I'm in awe of Zoom, because many years ago, my home groups were Shillorgan and Blackrock. And then I used to live very close to those places. And then I moved down here. And I never thought that something like this would happen when I'm sitting out here in the country, attending all these wonderful meetings. But this one is very special to me now, having attended here for a number of weeks. I want to thank everybody for all the sharing. You have enriched my life this evening. And the Martina was just blew me away. It was just so clear, so succinct, and so spot on in every way. It was inspired, and I want to thank you very much for that as well. I'm just very grateful to be here, and I'm going to keep on trucking and keep coming back. And the only requirement for membership of Overeaters Anonymous is a desire to stop eating compulsively. And that's the grounding of this whole program. So thanks a million, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan. Great to have you here from West Cork. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Okay, and to close us out, Cheryl, take it away.
Hi, Cheryl, compulsive overeater. Thank you for your share, Martina, and thank you for this meeting. I've come on the meeting tonight because I'm newly out of a long and damaging relapse. Grateful to OA because I'd still be in it now if it wasn't for OA. I do have defects of character I need to work on. There's one been bugging me all day. It's just I need to get it out there, is that I still think I can fix things for other people. I've got a foster child coming home at 9:30 who's had suicidal thoughts all day, and I'm feeling a little bit cheesed off because she hasn't been able to speak to me about it. She's been at her nan's for a few hours. But, that's the defect in me, is that I think I can fix it for others. Well, I can't bloody fix it for myself. So why? I still continue with this. Anyway, it's out there and I accept I can't. And I'm grateful for this meeting because I'll pick her up in a better, more peaceful, whatever, Anyway, thanks. Leave it there. Bye.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Keep coming back. Great to have you with us. Thank you for your share. And just checking, Maria, did you want to jump in there?
I did already. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, I forgot to.
No.
Okay, so we are now closing. We've come to the end of sharing time. Thank you so much, everyone, for your shares. I'd like to remind you of the 7th tradition, that every OA group ought to be self-supporting, declining outside contributions. The money pays for rent and literature, and any excess funds goes to intergroup. We have posted the PayPal link for the 7th tradition, and I'll copy it there now. Are there any OA announcements? If there are, if you could please pop them into the chat, or jump in now and share. I believe Anita is our literature rep. So please get in contact with Anita about that, or please get in contact with me and I will pass you on Anita's details. Okay, tradition 12 states that anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all these traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Therefore, who you see here, what you hear here, when you leave here, please let it stay here. So may I please ask Michael to read the promises for us? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm a compulsive overeater. Thank you, Rebecca, for your leadership, and Martina for your wonderful chair this evening, and everyone else for their readings and sharings. The promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly. They will materialize if we work for them.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Brilliant stuff. Okay, we will close the meeting by linking virtual hands and saying the surrender prayer, using the word God as we understand. God,
grant me the serenity to
Serenity
accept the things I cannot
change.
change the things I can, and wisdom to
Wisdom
know
to know the difference.
Amen.
Keep coming back. Work it, and it won't if you don't.
thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Martina.
Bye, everyone. Thank you,
Martina.
Martina. Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye, Rebecca.
Oh, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Matilda. Keep coming back.
Bye, Rebecca. Thank you again.
Thank you all.